Alright everyone, welcome along. Tobin's Tuesday. So, I thought we'd have a look at this. You've heard mention or you've seen what we're doing about revisiting the COVID stuff and refreshing some of the lessons that we've kind of learned in the past. If I'm going to have to revisit my past, you can revisit and relearn some things too. So I thought the really important thing that we need to have a look at and we need to see is, of course, layering. And Power BI supports layering and making your report content more interactive rather than being passive. What do I mean by that? What does that actually mean? So the realities for many people, even today, believe it or not, right, is something like this. Okay, and we've got this report pack. We can see this. This is what you can now interact with in Power BI. But I still see content like this, even with drop downs frozen in place as they are here. Okay? And people say, "Oh, but what does it mean? What's it telling me? What do I need to know? What can I do?" And the reality is, not a great deal, right? Because this isn't actually going to help you in any way, shape, or form to really understand and gain that insight about what's going on. And this issue, this whatever you want to call it, is part of the everyday struggle that a Power BI analyst will face in trying to bring a business over into using Power BI, because people are used to this kind of passive consumption. Someone's going to produce a PowerPoint for me. I'm going to get it. I can look at it. I can ask questions about it. It goes away. Okay? So what's the alternative? Right? Bear with me. Let's cut over into the same content, but actually in me Power BI. Okay? So here it is. Right? Now, same content, nothing's changed, but now all of a sudden it's like, well, hang on, what's that over there? Right? We can go, oh, okay. Do you mean this high spot here? We could potentially even zoom in and show them. So, right, at this point, the case rate went up to 69,000. Okay? New cases over time. The way this is calculated, you probably need to look at this. Okay? So it kind of, you're going, oh, right, okay, we're getting that. That's good. We can see as well that if we're looking across the piece here, we're actually able to interact with things. So if we could say, like, I know now, Boardmasters took place in Cornwall, that led to like quite a severe spike in cases. So from here, we can hover over Cornwall and the Isles of Scilly and see, well, 700 times the national average. I'd say that's quite a big caseload. We can click on it and then see actually what's the vaccination rates looking like for it. We could choose to interact with it. We could say, well, I need to know, can you show us what the under 25s vaccination rate's like? Because that's what we're most worried about. So below 25, because most attendees are that age. And in Cornwall, we're going to see clearly there's been a big push to do it. So we've had that uptick going up to 37%, which correlates with there being the gap between the first dose and second dose. We can, a lot of people are taking it, but it's still at 73% lower than where the older population are. It feels bad saying the older population over 25s or 25 and over, right? Do you see? Suddenly it's an interactive experience. We're actually having a dialogue that we couldn't have had with that PowerPoint. Now let's go to that next level, because we were talking about layers, weren't we? So really what we've got is we've got a nice flat layer that's similar, like in terms of what we're looking at here, to our PowerPoint. And when I hover over it, in my mind, I always think of this as like the layer above, like it's hovering up, it's above. Okay. So we can see it's above. We've hovered up. Oh, the data's refreshed, so it's dropped back down to 591%. Sorry, refreshing. The data that we're looking at in a PowerPoint is flat, isn't it? It's a flat plane. And suddenly we've got these things that appear above it, don't they? These like tooltips. So we've got the Cornwall, the Isle of Scilly. We can see the case rates starting to drop again now after the initial spike for Boardmasters. And this is where we might want to look at switching some of these around and using rolling sums and other things just to try and smooth out. but it's difficult because you don't want to smooth out too much. You want, yeah, so yeah, we'll get there. But what I've now got is we've added a drill through, so we can drill through and see a detailed page view or a detailed view really of what's going on in that same area. So we've got the vaccination rates by age broken down across the page. We can see clearly, easily what's happening. We've got case rates and vaccination rates by age grouping there as well. So we've got children, we've got young adults, and we can click on the young adults and we can then see the age ranges that it's corresponding to from a vaccinations perspective. We can click on the adults and you can see that's mostly working adults. And then we're heading into the elderly, which is 60 and above. We might say you want to go to 65 and above, but we can make these tweaks going forward. And that's where you start to get to, isn't it? We could never have done this. So I might have been able to look at my PowerPoint, if we go back to the PowerPoint and say, oh, what are you doing here? And we might look and we see, oh, there's a little red area right in the middle of Norfolk or just around Norfolk. What's that? And there's an action there, isn't there? Ross, go away, find out where that is, and come back and tell me, right? That's not good to me, right? Because I don't want to do that, right? I don't want my team doing that. Whereas if we were using the PowerPoint, or sorry, the Power BI report directly, we could say, right, no worries, sir. Let's go back to the main report. We can see that area is going to be here, isn't it? Norwich. That was Norwich. You can see it's now dropped back down. We can see from here what's happened. Something's gone through, it spiked, and it's just obviously, I've just published the update to this with all the tooltips in it, so it's just refreshed. And this is then picked up what's happened. So it's dropped, but what we can do is we can right click and we can choose to drill through into the detail view for Norfolk, or for Norwich, sorry, and we can see on the left hand side where the case rates have been so high. And this is one of the nice things that these tooltips do, sorry, the small multiples now do in Power BI actually. It's consistent axes, so I can compare all of these across the piece. So we can see that adults hitting 200 and odd, 186, but we had the young adults at 260. So definitely young adults seems to be where the caseload was at. And we've got the children under 18s here at 140. So we're able suddenly to have a much richer experience of what's going on just by adding, or by it's not adding, sorry, but almost removing some work for me and my team by getting people to come into the Power BI report pack. So I'd really challenge any business that's sitting there saying, oh, we didn't want to use Power BI in terms of actually getting people into it. It's a bit difficult and complicated. You can't get people in to do it. It's too difficult. Right? I'll put it to you, this isn't difficult. Follow the link down below, come into this report and have a look for yourself and see if it works for you or if it doesn't work for you. I'd like to know. So what have you reckon then? Using layers within your report pack, or actually starting to think in terms of the interactivity cycle of your report, really opens up and makes your report content much more accessible to your user base. If you're not having to think in terms of pages of navigation, I need to go to this page to see this bit of information, and you instead build up a more app-like experience and think in terms, and this might just be something that I use, I really do like thinking in terms of we're going in and out of the data, zooming in around, and actually try and make it a more interactive experience for my consumers, really. Because the more insights I can help my audience to gain about something, the better and the more use data will have within a business. And it then becomes informative, it becomes information. And that's the basis of like good information capital within a data-driven organization. So I'll tell you what, if you come back on Friday, we'll show you how we built the tool, how we built the whole thing. Yeah, how do we start to do the layers, getting everything in place, and look at some different alternate layouts that I've been working on for that drill through. Is that detail one the right one, or should we be looking at something else? So come back, enjoy yourselves, take care, have a great week. Ta-da.